All right, let's get right in this, because what we have here is something special. This isn't your typical military report. Nope, we're breaking down a mission briefing that starts off looking like a standard rescue op and then just completely spirals into a potential world-ending supernatural crisis. This is the story of Call Sign Alpha 7 and their mission into the tomb. So it all kicks off with this: 0745 hours, a completely normal sounding radio call. It's from Alpha 7, a 5-man ranger team on the ground in Egypt. Everything seems good to go. They've hit the target location, some remote dig site. Standard stuff, right? But just hold on, because that calm lasts for all of 15 minutes.
And there it is, the radio call that just flips the entire script, confirming a SNE, a potential Omega event. Whoa! Suddenly we are way past a simple rescue mission. The guys on the ground have found something so big, they're using code words that mean, humanity itself could be on the line. So what in the world were they actually sent in there to do?
Okay, let's rewind and look at the official paperwork. On paper, the mission for Alpha 7 looked, well, pretty straightforward. They were tasked with an asset rescue. It's a job these guys have trained for 1,000 times. But the real story is hidden in the fine print of the objectives.
Okay, so check this out. The primary and secondary goals, totally normal. Go in, rescue a couple of VIPs, grab their research, easy day. But then you read the tertiary objective: eliminate or quiet a hostile supernatural entity.
See?
Command already knew something weird was going on. They sent this team in ready for grave robbers, sure, but they were also packing for a monster hunt.
So, what even is an SNE? Well, the mission glossary gives us a pretty clear definition. It's basically a catch-all term for anything that exists outside the laws of nature as we know them. We're talking ghosts, monsters, things that are not supposed to be real. Alpha 7 went in prepared to face something unnatural. They just had no idea about the scale of what was waiting for them.
And that brings us to this second term, the one that should send a chill down your spine, the Omega event. This isn't just some local problem. An Omega event is a full-blown potential extinction-level crisis. The fact that this phrase even came up means whatever Alpha 7 stumbled upon in that tomb, it had the power to threaten the entire planet. So, who do you send to stop the end of the world? Let's meet the team. Call sign Alpha 7. They're a 5-man squad from the 75th Ranger Regiment, and they've got a very specialized K9 partner with them. These are the pros you call when things go sideways.
And this isn't just a random group of soldiers, okay? This is a purpose-built team. You've got Jusam, your explosives guy, super important if you're walking into a tomb. Hannabush is the brains, the intel and weapons expert. Thomas is their comms guy, their literal lifeline. Medrano is your seasoned Tier 1 operator, the guy who's seen it all. And then there's Saris, the canine handler, who brings a very unique weapon to the fight.
And let's be clear, that 6th team member is no joke. Zeus isn't just a dog, he's a working military dog, a WMD, with a whole combat skill tree. He can intimidate enemies, track anything, and fight right alongside the team. This dog is a serious force multiplier and a crucial part of Alpha 7. Now, before Alpha 7 even got to the weird stuff, they had to deal with a much more familiar problem. Their first obstacle was a group of armed grave robbers connected to an extremist group. This was the fight they were actually expecting.
And this slide just perfectly lays out the tactical nightmare they walked into. On one hand, you've got dudes with AK-47s. Dangerous? For sure, but you know how to fight them. On the other hand, you have an undead mummy with ancient magic that's immune to your bullets and can summon flesh-eating bugs. The playbook for fighting that? It doesn't exist.
So the intel confirms it. The SNE is an ancient Egyptian mummy, and they've even got a name for him, Imhotep. And we're not talking about some slow, shambling corpse here. This thing is an undead creature with a purpose, and it has a whole arsenal of powers that make it a genuine, strategic-level threat.
Just look at these stats. 50% damage reduction basically means half their ammo is useless. It's immune to bleeding, so even if you land a good shot, it doesn't matter. It feels no fear, and it will never, ever retreat. Its only known weakness is fire. For a squad armed with standard rifles, this thing is practically a walking god.
But being hard to kill isn't even its scariest trick. No, the briefing calls out this thing called the enthrall power. Basically, every 24 hours, at sunrise, its mind control bubble gets bigger. Day 1, it might just be the people in the tomb. Day 2, the entire camp. Give it a week, a month, and it can build an unstoppable army of slaves just by waiting for the sun to come up. This is the mission's real ticking clock.
And that enthrall power? That's exactly why this got flagged as a potential Omega event. An immortal general creating an ever-expanding army of mindless puppets is bad enough, but that's not all it can do. The threat, it goes global.
The document lists off a few other nasty abilities, but I want to focus on those fire beetles, because these aren't just local bugs. The briefing says they can lock onto a single person and hunt them down anywhere on Earth. It even cites a case from 1943 where one of these things tracked an ex-SS officer from Egypt all the way to Berlin. It took 75 days, but it found him, and then it exploded. Now just imagine that kind of power unleashed on the world stage.
You know, this isn't the first time humanity has bumped into this kind of threat. Back in World War II, the Nazis' occult division, the Thule Society, actually had a project called Der Erwachte, the Awakened. They tried to weaponize a mummy just like this one. Thankfully, they failed, but it just goes to show you, powerful people have known about and wanted this kind of power for a long, long time.
And then, you get this. In what has to be one of my favorite little details, tucked away in this incredibly serious intelligence document is a historical note. It mentions the first documented case outside of Egypt was in London back in 1898, and the incident was contained by, and I'm not making this up, Doctors Phineas Flynn and Ferb Fletcher. You gotta appreciate a good Easter egg, even in an apocalypse.
So that's the setup. Alpha 7 went in expecting a gunfight with some local insurgents, and they stumbled into the first act of a potential apocalypse. They are outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy that literally breaks the laws of physics, which really brings us to the only question that matters. 5 soldiers and a dog, up against an immortal being with a growing army. Do they even stand a chance?